everyone. Welcome to Risk Roundup. Afghanistan is in crisis. This country has become a symbol of a never-ending war, heavy dependency on foreign aid, and a deep political instability. Progress has not come to much of the civilization. This is visible as even after 20 years of US occupation, this country once again falls to Taliban. This sudden turn of geopolitical events has global implications not only because of destabilization of the country and mass migration, but also because Afghanistan is a land that is rich in natural resources. While some of the resources have been exploited, others have remained relatively unexploited. So, what is the impact? What is in store for Afghanistan economy, and why is it at the center of the geopolitics? To discuss this further, I'm delighted to welcome Professor Dr. Ashok Dubey to Risk Roundup. Professor Dubey is a banker in Afghanistan, and he is very kind enough to share his valuable time today to give us some of his valuable insights to what he sees as the crisis in Afghanistan and what is in store for the economy. Welcome, Dr. Dubey. We are so very honored to have you in Risk Roundup.
Thank you.
So beyond the COVID pandemic and the drought and a dire economy, Afghanistan confronts a Taliban takeover. So amid the lack of sustainable security that can hold all the territories in Afghanistan and the powerless political elites unable to unify against the common threats, many in the Afghanistan, many civilized population, people living in cities, they fear that they have no hope but to flee the country. Can you describe the state of fear and frustration that is engulfing Afghanistan today after decades of war and the Taliban takeover?
Okay, thank you for giving me an opportunity to discuss with this great team. I came back from Afghanistan on 11th of August, this month itself. The things were brewing up in a very faster mode. One after the various provinces in Afghanistan were being captured by Taliban and their other allies. And once on 1st of May, US decided to withdraw its troops, then the things became more accelerating and things become really very serious and people were really tense. After the 1st of May, one province after the other province started falling to Taliban and without any resistance. This is very surprising to me that as a sovereign nation, I've never seen a nation is coming so much to the power, going down to the knees and without even firing a bullet. The entire country is won. This has never happened in the history ever. And it has, I was talking with my colleagues over there when I was there. They said we'll give a very strong resistance to the militants. We'll fight till death. And even the president also there assured us that, okay, don't worry, things are okay. We have got a lot of ammunition. We have got a lot of support from various NATO countries and US. You don't need to worry. You continue the work as it is. And on his assurance, we're working, we believed him that, okay, he is the president, so he must have got the entire view. But surprisingly, on 15th of August, they had captured most of the centers and provinces in different parts of Afghanistan. And I was there till 11th. I could hear the gun sounds, the bomb blasts, the various things happening, in various neighborhoods. And the things were really very disturbing because frequently we used to get call from the home that why don't you come back? What is the situation over there? Because all my colleagues, have got about 10 expats working with me. And every day we used to get phone calls from the home and people were really worried and what to do. On 10th of August, I got an advisory from the Ministry of External Affairs through the Indian Embassy that please rush and take the first earliest flight, domestic flight, international flight for Delhi. And normally Indian Embassy doesn't press the panic button so fast. So I thought once they said these things to me, I started wondering that something is really, amiss, something is really, is going to happen. And that is not good, what is going to happen. So I took a decision consciously. I'm heading the bank and I'm the head of the management of the bank also. So I called for the meeting of the board of supervisors and board of directors. And I asked that all the Indians who are working with me should be evacuated at the earliest. I didn't want to take a risk of my employees being there, and then if something happens, it would be a big loss. Money cannot substitute the life. So I was very clear in my views that once the things had come to this level, and I'll tell you on various days. On 11th also we got an advisory from Indian Embassy. On 11th we got 2 or 3 advisories. Those are very stern advisories that please return back to India at the earliest. Don't stay over here. I think they had their own information system. What as the embassy or as the country they should have got it, and they had informed us well in advance. So it was but natural for us to take a call, and then we decided that we'll not stay any further, and we booked the earliest ticket. All my employees left by 15th of August when the Kabul fell to this Taliban. And thank God all my people have reached safely to the homes, to the families. And obviously the bank also helped a lot in taking a decision that, okay, you should go back. They didn't want to hold back any employees, any expats working over there. And that is the one where we saw things. And apart from that, the ladies, especially, let me tell you, the ladies, they're very concerned. They had seen the brutality of Afghanistan by previous Taliban regime. Frequently, they used to come to my cabin and ask me, sir, what we should do. I was really helpless, let me tell you. I couldn't do anything for them because this was such a situation where, as an individual or as a head of a particular organization, I was helpless. I was not able to provide anything to them except for my verbal assurance, my support, my mental support to them. That's it. And the ladies frequently used to say that, look, we had seen the previous regime. The face might have changed, but their actions still remain the same. There is no conformity between the words and action, what they say. They say that we are a changed lot. We are Afghanistan, Taliban number 2. But still, you can see in the mass media, you can see in the news, people are desperate to come out of it. And you must have seen in the airport, people scrambling to get into the aircraft. Never before, I think you must have seen such a scenario, nor me. So things were really very disturbing. Things were not moving as decided. And the government had meekly surrendered to a motley group of, armed group. Not even to an army. I can understand you can fall to army, let's fight a bullet, give some resistance, but nothing was there. The president left the country, the various ministers left the country, the central bank governor, he also left the country. So it was very sad state of affairs, and no one could believe that these things could happen. So things were very turbulent, things were not happening properly, and we had to take a step to come back to India.
Yes, no, I am. Risk group community is very glad that you are safe and you came out in a timely manner, and that Indian government had some information that helped you, to take the decision that you should have taken at the right time. So we are really glad that things worked out for you. But like you said, there are so many there at the airport, and the situation is so turbulent, and it's a shocking events when we see the people falling from the plane. That is something you never want to see. This the country has reverted to Taliban control. I mean, it is catastrophic, and it seems people there are more loyal to tribes, especially in the rural areas, not in the city, but in the this tribalism is very strong, and it looks like they were not convinced about the future shown to them by the national government or by the United States government or all the alliances. So that is something that is deeply disturbing, that the political power that there was in Afghanistan, that was not convincing to the tribal leaders. So did it surprise you, especially how fast Taliban took control?
Yeah, it was. We couldn't believe that it'd be so fast. Let me tell you, U.S. forces were there since last 20 years, and to my surprise, never it happened to the Afghan government to train their own people for a military training. Most of the countries, they have got 2 years training, for young people. Nothing happened of that sort. And there was a lot of corruption in the government, within the government, and outside the government. And this was one of the reasons why, people were just not willing to do anything at all. They were just having a free lunch. And you can understand free lunch doesn't continue forever. A time will come when the government will definitely pull down its support. And rightly so, the US pulled down the support because the Afghans were not willing to do anything at all. Maybe, they didn't have their different ethnicities, their different tribes having different views, different perceptions. But even all said and done, a lot of countries have different views, different tribes, different ethnicities, but they don't come to power in such a way as it has happened over here. And that was really shocking to all of us, not only to me, because I am an expat. I have not seen the history of that particular country, but those who have been there since birth, they too were very scared. They said that no one expected. When we were talking, there was a lot of camaraderie in the bank that okay, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll try to take this action. A lot of political leaders used to assure us that nothing is going to happen, but unfortunately those things happened which we didn't expect at all. And especially in the banking, we are the repository of the people's money. We hold back their money in trust and confidence, and hard-earned money of the people are kept in the bank. Now you can understand, if the people don't get back their money, what they have kept with us, the resentment is very high. Now we have run into the liquidity issues. We don't have sufficient cash to pay back to the people. And all the banks are closed since then. No bank has opened, because two things are very concerning right now. One is the liquidity issue, and second is the security for the bank. If you open the bank, it's quite possible that there may be an armed, people coming with guns and ammunitions and taking over all the assets of the bank. They may kill the people also, because they're so violent. Obviously, they have kept their hard-earned money with the bank. And now there's no response, neither from the government nor from the DAB. There's no DAB. So we're just looking in the wilderness, what is going to happen. It's a total chaos over there. And every day we are meeting and talking with the people. I'm talking with the locals over there, my employees over there. They say things are good, but still they don't believe it. They say that tomorrow, if everything is okay, and if they turn their skins otherwise, if they turn back, if they take a U-turn, then what's going to happen? Yes, they are very justified in saying these things, because in the past they have experienced such things, and things are really not good right now, both with the central government being non-functional. There's no government right now, so we really don't know whom to talk to.
Yes,
That's
yes,
a
that is a
crisis.
challenge. You are absolutely right. That is a challenge. And yes, you are right. I also read the report that Taliban is facing financial crisis as they cannot access the central bank funds. So do you think it's a short-term problem, and that they will be able to convince the banks to uh, have that access that they need? Where do you think it is going to go? I mean, your concerns are legitimate that uh, there is nobody to talk to. There is no solution in front of you. But where do you think this is going to go?
Probably it may take some time unless the government is not formed, and Taliban has made it very, very clear that they'll be able to form the government only once the USA goes away. And the last date for US to go away is 31st of August. So probably after that time, they say we'll form an inclusive government of all the tribes, of all the ethnic groups. So I think only after 31st of August we'll be able to get a very clear picture of what's going to happen, because security of the banks, is very, very paramount important to me, and
Yes.
my employees should not, fall to all those things. I was there when the Taliban fighting was going on. Every day I used to get a message: look, this branch is closed, that branch is closed. They have taken away the guns from the security people. They have taken away the cash. Now we were helpless. Even I was there for 3 to 4 months when the Taliban started for May itself. But things were very, very gloomy. There was no support, no intervention by any international force. They just left it to the fate of the people to decide, or the government. And government is so corrupt that nothing happens over there. Even if you have to get your license registered, you have to get to do anything, you have to pay bribe. Without bribe, nothing moves. That is a country. Shockingly, is in such a state of affairs. I used to very clearly say to the people over there, my employees, that why don't you raise your voice? They used to say that if I raise the voice, nothing is going to happen. In fact, we'll be vindicated more, they'll take more time, the things will not move forward at all. And then I had to accept it. Then there was no way forward for us. And
Yes.
that in view, in the banks, there was huge amount of loans were pending, for recovery. The law is so vexatious, is so lengthy, it is so, outdated, that, even if you get the decree from the court to recover the money for your assets, it takes years together to get it. Now you have to have a mujahida means a gathering of the people. 5 times the Mujada needs to, has to be settled. I don't know for what reasons they want 5 times. If once it is decided that this money is to be recovered, it should be recovered. And various agencies have to be asked to be present over there. 5 different agencies like municipality, the government, the attorney office, 3 to 4 different organizations, and every person to come, they need money. Without money, they do not attend your meeting. So, in fact, it was a good money chasing a bad money when we used to spend money to get those people together and being very unsure that what is going to happen, whether we are really going to recover the loan what you again, or again it is going to be as a bad loan per se. So things were not moving as we wished. I've never seen such a incident in my banking career so far, but this was a very unique picture, where people have now resigned themselves to the fate. They say, okay, this is what the life is. And let me tell you, the young generation, those who are working with me, young boys and girls, they don't see a future in the country. Because for the last 40 years, there's a war. They're born in war. They're living in war. And they say we'll die in war. So it's very sad to hear from my colleagues that about all those things. But no, we're helpless, and corruption, inefficiency, lack of capacity, lack of guidance from the government. So many things were there which were not right for the things to move forward.
Yes, you're absolutely right. These are very challenging time, and the issues are very complex. And like you said, this for 40 years, this has been going on. It's not just the United States withdrawal, but before that also, Russia's, withdrawal. So when we look at both the, countries that are occupied there, as a banker, do you think there are any lessons from the past that can help us understand the country's present and perhaps its future economic challenges? Because we all know that this country has always depended on aid, and that dependency is never brings out the best in people, because the desire to innovate, the desire to succeed, the desire for progress and development is just not there when there is free money and free access, and that dependency is destructive. So where do you think the Afghanistan economy, stands, and where is it going?
You've asked $1 million question. If I was able to answer that, probably I would be the most favored person in Afghanistan. They would ask me that who could lead the way. But what we think that, okay, once the government is stable, if we get good support from the government, if they have got some visionary people to decide and chalk out a strategy, I don't say all the people are bad. It's not like that. Not all the people are bad. But some people are really good, intelligent, who know how to go about it. But things don't happen the way it should happen. And it's very difficult to predict what will happen, because once we know how the government is formed, who are in the power, how many groups are there in the inclusive government, probably we can take a call. Today itself, there was a news that the new governor has been announced by the Taliban regime. Now no one knows who this new person is. It's quite a mysterious, normally for a governor, you'd be having something, a banker or a professional or, a finance expert. But we don't know. Some mullah is there who's going to head it. And I don't know to what extent he is very familiar with the things going to happen. Because they might implement a Sharia law in the country. Because, they are for that only. And if the Sharia law is implemented, we don't have any objection to the Sharia law. Let it be a ethnic group or religious, bank working for others. But there has to be some systems and procedures which we should have to follow. There has to be a leader who has to be honest to the people. There has to be a leader who can show the future to the people. There has to be a leader who has got the faith and confidence of the masses. And this is a fractured economy, a fractured, population, where not all the people are, going to support the government in the way it is. I am Pashto, I follow some other way. He is a Tajik, he'll follow some other views. So we have got 34 provinces and 34 different lords are there. Even today, someone is claiming to the presidency, there are 2 or 3 more claimants. Now we don't know how the things are going to move about it. Things are really very murky right now. It's very difficult to say what is going to happen in future. But one thing I'm very sure and very optimistic, and I believe that if the government is, is good, if they've got a vision, if they've got, right people at the right place, probably things will work out. For the last 20 years, things were really going good. There was not bad about it. Things were really happening. The loans were given. A lot of grants from the various, external agencies, support from different agencies. But see what was happening. Unfortunately, the policy of the US, from whom they're getting the grant, was applied on the Afghanistan banks. It cannot work that way. A policy which is applicable in US cannot be probably just copy pasted in the Afghanistan economy or in the Afghanistan banks. And this is what was happening. Something which is good for the US might not be good for the Afghanistan economy per se. So we used to always raise these questions that why is this? Then we try to keep shut. Look, because there are we get the fund from them. We have to follow their diktats. So obviously, if you are too dependent upon someone, he will take a call. And even what I understand, why the present regime fall was that the president was not taking the shots. Someone else on his behalf was taking the call that, look, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. And when someone else is deciding for you, you are just like a dummy figure. And a dummy doesn't work. Probably 1 or 2 days he can work, but to have a sustainable government, to have a sustainable policy, we need to have a government which is, which is fit, which is justified, and which has got the confidence of the masses.
Yes, absolutely. No, you are right about that. And we need to bring inclusiveness, and the challenges that Afghanistan is facing largely are because of the slow pace of cultural evolution. So you are right that United States, under the United States security and umbrella, there was a lot of progress and development, but it could not stand because the cultural evolution did not happen, for most of the, Afghanistan people. So it is nothing like that, the smart people are only located in few countries. The brain power is in every country, but we also need good systems that can help the smart people to come up with new ideas and come up with progress and development. And that is what Afghanistan is lacking, because there is no stability, there is no security, there is a lot of corruption, and there is no cultural evolution. So these are many complex challenges happening in Afghanistan. It is very difficult to see, the state of Afghanistan. It is a epicenter of geopolitics and epicenter of warfare. So the civilization is suffering. When we talk about the currency, especially for because you are a banker, where do you see the future of Afghani currency going?
See, in early 80s, the value of one Afghani vis-a-vis dollar was $1 was equivalent to 100 Afghani at that time. The currency will depreciate, and even today, what is happening? It is floating around 84, 85, 86. Now, since the dollar is not available, the US has frozen the assets of the Afghanistan central bank. There is no inflow of dollars, so dollar becoming a very limited currency in the country. Obviously, you can understand the demand-supply mismatch. The demand is more, the supply is less. Obviously, the Afghani currency will depreciate. And forget even in the present situation, even when I was there in the very happy times, people never believed the Afghani currency. They always used to get their salary in Afghani and used to get it converted into dollars because they thought that something might happen. I think probably they had a premonition of all those things, that things are not going to be stable. Although the banks, we used to tell them that don't worry, things are going to happen. Things were really happening in a good way. But people never believed us, believed the banks, because they had seen the past. And if the past is an indicator, then probably they were right so in seeing that, look, we don't have this particular currency. And if this same situation remains, I fear that, the Afghani will depreciate further than what it is right now. It is 85, because dollars, as you all know, 9.45 billion US dollars have been frozen in the US assets. No SDRs. So there's no flow of money going to come. And people are hankering after dollars, rightly so, because they don't see the value of the currency. It is just a nominal, currency for them, a number, but it doesn't have a real value. So most of the people, even today or even before also, they used to go for get Afghani for the dollars, and then they used to keep it at a very safe haven. And see, this is basically a dollarized economy. 60% of the business happens in the US dollars. Now, if I have to buy an asset, a house, I'll pay in dollars. I have to buy a car, it will be in dollars. So all my assets were in the dollars and liabilities were, largely in the Afghani. So there was an asset liability mismatch. we couldn't bridge that gap, because of the various traditional, cultural, and the things as it was happening in the past. So not a party to it, but obviously we couldn't bridge the gap between asset and liability mismatch. And we always used to have a meeting, ALCO committee meeting, where we used to discuss, we used to have a contingency plan that what if this happens, what if this run on the bank happens. We're just discussing this. And to my surprise, the things, which I was just thinking as a hypothetical situation, which may or may not happen, it has really happened. And today we are in a liquidity crisis where there's no money with the bank. No banks are now willing to open the branches because they fear a backlash from the general public. And
Yes.
there's no support in terms of security. And there's no support, obviously no banks are going to open. So things are right now in a very fluid state of affairs. Things are not moving as we wanted. We wanted it to be fast, but I think till 31st of August, no one can take a decision on this whole issue. Another maybe 10 days to go, but we have to wait for this time to see what is going to happen in the future.
Yes, yes, that is very true. So, how do you see Afghanistan achieving fiscal sustainability in absence of US, influx of dollars?
See, there are only two. Second option is that some other country bails out, Afghanistan, maybe China, because this is a geopolitical, game of chess, where if one country withdraws, the other will pitch in. Probably they will give a lot of dollar support uh, uh, to the Afghan government because they want more business to grow. They're very close to on the borders of of Afghanistan, so they want more political strength to be there. Probably Russia could also be one of the partners. Iran could also be one of the partners, in the whole process. So if America closes down the tap of dollars, probably some other countries may come to bail out this particular country. I don't see a situation where things will remain as it is, status quo will not be there. I think something will develop. Probably, the Afghan government may reach out to the other communities, to other NATO governments, or to the European countries to bail them out of the crisis. And I'm sure some countries will come to help it out. Which country will be that? Again, I cannot say with certainty. But I see the neighboring countries who have got a major business stake in Afghanistan, who has got geopolitical, favoritism in the Afghanistan. Yes, they will do something. And Afghanistan has always been a war field for different countries. Afghanistan on its own has never fought a battle. If the battle has to be there between China and Pakistan, it will be in Afghanistan. India and some other countries will be in Afghanistan. So Afghanistan was always used as a conduit for all these extremism, or for all these inter-country differences to settle down this course. But Afghanistan per se, it's a very people are really good. I appreciate the people. They are hardworking. Their agriculture is good, but unfortunately, for the last 2 3 years, we had the corona, which had a major disaster for the economy. There was also drought, which affected the economy to a large extent, and the export import gap. The current account is huge. The total, if I say the import is 6,700 million US dollars, and export is just 777. You can understand the gap. This huge gap. So we need to have foreign currency to get the goods. Now Afghanistan has stopped trade with India. Probably they might extend trade with some other countries. So again, a lot of things are right now in the cupboard. If cupboard opens, a lot of things will fall out of it. And what the things will fall out, again, it's anyone's guess. Very difficult
Yes.
to predict right now.
Yes, very true. No, you're right that some other country will start, you know, same cycle of dependency for Afghanistan. Like China, it could be there, or Russia will come,
Yeah,
and there is also bigger interest because Afghanistan has substantial mineral resources.
absolutely.
So that is also a big incentive for many countries to move in. So do you think that the current state or the mineral resources that they have, that it could support the economic needs of the country, irrespective of whether China moves in or some other country?
See, Afghanistan has got a lot of very good, scarce minerals. It has got gold, it has got silver,
Yes.
it has got
Yes.
precious stones over there. So they have got the resources, provided it is properly utilized. Right now, what is happening? This country is being exploited by other countries. The local people don't have that capacity to use it. This lack of capacity, there are hardly any entrepreneurs in the country. Those who have got money, they are leaving the country. They are fleeing the country because they don't want to be victimized by Taliban. So A lot of money has flown out of Afghanistan. And then to bring back those people, again, that's a big challenge to the government. The government has to assure and ensure that they're not going to victimize the people. There has to be an amnesty for the people, those who have run away. And those people have run away because of fear. It's not because of something else. And the money has to be brought back, maybe from Iran, from Turkey, from other countries where people have invested the money. I know because I'm a banker, I know most of the people whom I used to talk, they have invested their money in some other countries because they don't see a future over here. So probably if the government is going to give an amnesty to the people, develop more entrepreneurs, ask more investors, foreign FIIs to come and make investment in the country, have a system, where the law prevails. If there's lawlessness and the law itself is not going to suffice, then no one will come. Every investor wants a very safe and secure environment. They want a return. So that is basically the duty of the government. It is not the duty of someone else. The government has to ensure that you get the right people at the right spot. The investors should be invited. And why not? It has got a good climate. Absolutely, it is just like hill station. We love to be there. But yes, things have become bad, but I don't think it will remain bad forever. Things will change. That is, see, 1960s, Kabul was known as the Paris of the Central Asia. So modern, it has trams, it has got women, it has got pubs. And today, if you compare with that, it is totally a regime where women cannot go out, they cannot work, they have to be at the homes, victimization of women, schools colleges are closed. So those things will not be forever. I think the present regime has to understand this perception that people want change.
Yes.
And they have to give a new face to the country. The old face is scary, which no one wants to have really look, but we want a new face to be given by the new government. Probably they might have got some ideas which they are not opening the cards right now, probably maybe for very strategic reasons. They may open the cards later on when the US is completely withdrawn its forces. So we hope something will work out. And the banks are sustainable, banks are doing well. Only thing is that we need support from the government and from the central bank as well.
Yes, yes, very true. No, people do want change, and that is something that every country's governance need to recognize. So, understanding Afghanistan crisis is also an opportunity to question the use of military power around the world, and also to question whether we can ever transform societies through military force. So it is not just for the United States or to understand, or any other country who has occupied Afghanistan to understand, or who are planning to occupy, like China or any other country to understand. But even the country's own governance, like Taliban itself, needs to understand that the force is not going to be enough to govern Afghanistan for a long term, and they will need to change. They will need to give society what they are asking for the progress and development. So thank you so much, Professor Dubey, for participating in this roundup today. We appreciate your thoughtful insight into the state of Afghanistan economy, and our global viewers and listeners will benefit tremendously from what you had to say. And as a result, this Risk Roundup dialogue has been of service. We thank you for that.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So Risk Group is a strategic security risk research platform and community. Through the Risk Roundup initiative, Risk Group and I are on a mission to talk with a billion brilliant minds. The reason behind this effort is to research, review, rate, and report strategic security risk facing humanity. Thank you for being part of the conversation. Until next time, I'm Jayashree, host of Risk Roundup, signing off. See you next time. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.